Being very entitled and controlling, narcissists have no difficulty stepping all over your personal boundaries. So that's why I put together an extensive video class called This Is Me. It has 25 videos, written documents, guided questions. I'm going to teach you how to have healthy boundaries. There's a link below, and I hope you'll find it to be quite therapeutic. I'm hoping that as you survey your life and take stock about who you are and what you've been through, that at some point you can decide, I feel a certain type of satisfaction with who I am and what I've experienced. It doesn't mean everything has to be perfect, but you can look at your accomplishments or who you're with, and the highs and lows, and in the end you can decide, things in general are good. I like my life. Now, it's possible to have too much of a good thing, particularly when we're talking about people who have a real strong narcissistic bent. They want to be satisfied too, but their sense of satisfaction in life goes further and further down the path towards smugness. And when I say smugness, they can have a sense of being pretty self-impressed. And then it's followed by an attitude of condescension toward you, and it can come out as conceit. It's kind of like, well, today's a good day for me to be me, and you poor slob, you're not nearly in the same category as me. I know you wish you could, but I really like being me. And it can come through in a way that's it's sometimes difficult to stomach. Now, when we talk about people having this sense of smugness that's a part of their life, we're talking about them having a sense of correctness at your expense. It's like, I don't really see the need to hold you up because you see I'm higher than you. And if you're around me, you're going to find out I am the better person here. In their smugness, they can have an attitude of personal achievement and good fortune that proves, and this is the key, that proves that they're superior to you. It's one thing to say I've got some nice things that have happened in my life, but it's like, yeah, and I hope you can see you're just not quite in the same category as me. I know you wish you could be, but you're not. And with smugness, these individuals approach relationships with no particular need to discuss things. It's a foregone conclusion. The smug person thinks, well, I can make my decisions for me, and I can make my decisions for you too. We don't need to talk about, committee kind of decisions. Let me make the decisions. Likewise, the smug person thinks, I actually deserve your deference. You're going to be better off by having me in your life. So why don't you just get used to the idea, lay down your thoughts, and just stick with me. I'll make sure that everything goes all right. And maybe some of my goodwill will rub off in your direction. It makes you want to roll your eyes with that one. And even when they err, narcissists can think, well, if something did go wrong in my life, it wasn't my fault. It was people that had it in for me, and it was misinterpreted, and so they can't acknowledge that they have frailties. That's what we're talking about when we talk about somebody that approaches you with this attitude of smugness. I can think of different people, for example, individuals that are prone towards humble bragging. They talk about all the wonderful things they've done with kind of the idea that says, go ahead and pat me on the back. You're going to be pretty impressed with me. Or people who don't want to have any particular accountability to someone else. It's like, I don't need to be accountable to you. This is me. Or someone who has the attitude that says, well, my opinions are so strong, we don't need to have any kind of discussions. Let's just do what I say. I'm a solid person, and you're going to figure that out. Now, if you're in the presence of someone like this, it just makes you want to roll your eyes and think, come on, you're not quite as you don't need to be quite as self-impressed as you project yourself as being. Yes, I want you to feel satisfied with your life, but enough's enough. That being the case, there are 4 questions that I'd like to ask that smug, narcissistic person that could bring them back into reality. Now, obviously, I don't have any particular illusions that it's going to happen that way, but 4 questions that I'd like to ask that would put a perspective on this attitude of this false, smug approach toward life. The first question I'd like to ask is, How long are you going to remain simple-minded? You see, when a person comes across as smug, they don't have any appreciation for complexities. Yeah, there are going to be differences between one person's definition of success or feelings of well-being. But first, to that smug narcissist, let's keep in mind, it's not all about you and your narrow ideas about who's best or what is best doesn't necessarily match with everybody else's ideas about what's best. Frankly, it illustrates shallow reasoning. The word "best" isn't always doesn't always mean the same depending on the context that it is. Or did it ever dawn on you when you think about your smugness that other individuals have a backstory that maybe you need to take in mind, or they have a unique history, or perhaps a temperament difference that's a little bit not the same as yours, or cultural influences, or just life circumstances? Do you ever take any of that into account? And the narcissist is like, nah, don't bother with me. Let me just keep things simple. I'm better, you're worse, end of discussion. Why do you have to be so simplistic in your thinking? A second question I'd like to ask that person, and that is, how long are you going to prioritize agitation? You'll notice that people who tend to operate with a certain smugness also have annoyance and irritability or impatience with other individuals. It's like, I have to suffer these fools in front of me so many different times. Actually, the smugness is the backside of the irritability. When everything's going their way, they feel real good. When it's not, it's like, what's wrong with these people? Why can't they just see things my way? And I'm sure glad I'm not you. And their smugness is fueled by a competitive attitude, which then allows them, if you will, to become that much more critical towards people. And in addition, it's tied interestingly to the emotion of envy. Envy means you wish that what other people have is something you could have, and so what they do is they turn it around and say, "Yeah, you probably think that about me," but it's all intertwined in there together. It's part of their agitation system and their undertow of irritability toward life. That you're not the same as them. A third question I'd like to ask, and that is, how long will you refuse guidance? You see, I've never known a smug, narcissistic person to say, I need to learn some things, and there's some things that I just am not up to speed on. Help me out, will you? It's like, no, that's not the case with me. That's what they think. The narcissist is thinking, well, why would I need to get information from you? But you see, their unwillingness to receive guidance or input is part of their defense structure. They've got their walls thick and strong. They don't want you penetrating. They've got their way of interpreting life, which is self-enhancing, I might add. And any kind of input from you that would deviate from that is not welcome. And then a fourth question that I'd like to ask that person, and that is, how long are you going to pretend to be somebody that you're not? In their smugness, narcissists try to project the image that says, I'm kind of complete, or I'm a finished product, or I am the go-to person. How about if you can just simply say something like, I'm like everybody else. I'm in the same boat. I'm a mixed bag. Sometimes I have pluses, sometimes I have minuses. Sometimes I need to grow. Sometimes I just come to the end of my wits and I could use some assistance. The narcissist is thinking, well, that described you, but that doesn't describe me. And they can't allow themselves to be human. So the net result, when narcissists will come at you with this smugness, I know it could just be, make you sometimes want to pull your hair out, or as one person says, I just like to slap that person. But when you're around somebody that has this smugness, you'll notice that there are multiple elements that go along with that. The smug person is actually utilizing massive denial. They can't say the words, I need help. These are individuals who refuse to take responsibility for their problems. If there's a problem, then it had to be you because they're too self-impressed. They are prone toward keeping secrets and lies because it's like, well, there's some things, if you find out about me, it may burst my image, and we can't do that. And so they can be evasive, and they can go into cover up. And so it means that you don't really know who they are because they're so committed to an image. It means that they're unable to empathize. in their smugness, they can think, well, why would I make any attempt to know and understand you from your vantage point? It means that they have perpetual interpersonal tensions. It's a natural byproduct of their condescending attitudes toward you. It also implies that they're going to have weak attachments. You see, having healthy attachments implies that we know the sum total of one another, pluses and minuses, the whole person. And the narcissist is like, I want you to know the parts of me that make me look good. Enough said, I'm not going there. And so they're not going to have deep connections. And then in addition, they perpetuate emotional disarray in you because of your frustrations towards them, and in yourself because there's so much suppression that's required to maintain their smug veneer. So narcissists, they insist that they have to maintain this veneer that says, I'm above you. And we have a word for that. It's called a phony. I'm hoping you can think, I'm not really all that impressed with somebody who's very self-impressed, and besides they've got so much self-impression, an impressed mindset going on that they don't need my impressed attitude. Keep in mind, though, when you're dealing with somebody who has this approach towards life, you're very unlikely to bring them into reality. So I don't think you need to just feel like you have to bring them down several notches. I do think that it's appropriate for you to have your sense of boundaries and say, well, I know you think this way, but I think that way. And when they call you out, it's like, well, nonetheless, I'm going to proceed being who I am anyway. Stay in your boundaries. I'm hoping that you're going to look at the alternative and say, well, I'm going to look at all sides of myself, and I'm going to embrace myself in the midst of my pluses and my minuses. That's a mindset that narcissists cannot embrace. And that being the case, it tells me, well, we're going to have a shallow relationship if we're going to have a relationship at all. Now, I hope that videos such as this can just be yet another way for you to understand about what you're dealing with and how you can respond to some of the frustrations that come along. If you haven't already hit that subscribe button, please do so. Hit that notification bell, and we'll keep more coming towards you. I know that there are times when you're dealing with things like this that you think, I could use some therapy. I could use somebody that can help me unpack this. I've been sponsored by the people at BetterHelp.com for years. It's a whole team of licensed professional therapists. You can go through the link that we have below. There's a few questions to ask, and then you can select from a team of licensed professional therapists. It can be so helpful for you to have somebody that says, I want to know you. Let's be real. Let's be authentic. None of this phony stuff. And then you can forge your path or get your path going in the right direction. Likewise, in my retirement from my counseling practice, I've put together online courses. I pulled together much of my experience, and we have each course has at least 25 teaching videos. That's quite a lot, and within each course, I have different modules that relate to it. With each video has its own handouts and guided questions, so it's a lot of work. We have anger games. This is me, free to be, ready, set, connect. There are links below that will give you explanations there. In my website, we also have my webinars that are available, 90-minute presentations of a very different nature, along with access to my podcast, plenty of articles, my books, etc. Okay, the narcissist can come along, and the implication is, man, it's a good day because I'm me and you're you. I know you wish you could be me. And it's like, yeah, okay, I got it. Let them have whatever false self they need to have. I'm hoping that you can embrace the fullness of your humanity, and in doing so, there's a richness that you can draw upon that they'll never find. And in the process, I'm hoping your efforts can lead you towards more and more of a feeling of steadiness in your life, and it can guide you into your place of internal peace.